Welcome to our webinar on artificial intelligence in IoT. I'm Katarina Henriksson, a legal counsel here at Telenor Connexion. With me today are my colleagues Martin Whitlock and Anders Bresell. Please go ahead and introduce yourselves, starting with you, Martin.
Thank you very much, Katarina. I'm Martin Whitlock. I have the pleasure, I would say, to be CTO at Telenor IT, or Telenor Connexion, since 8 years. And thereby responsible for, you could say, the portfolio that we bring to the market. So product management, technology development, software engineering, the roaming business that we have, and of course also the data part.
Thank you. So my name is Anders Bresell, and I'm head of data here at Telenor IT. Been around almost the same time, 8 years plus something. And I'm leading the data science and analytics team, the data platform, and all the AI use cases, more or less, based on our data that passes through our platform and our business and so on. So, yeah.
Yes. Today we continue discussions on the topic we introduced earlier this year through the publication of our report, IoT Predictions of 2024. Navigating the Perfect Storm, AI IoT to emerge as the defining enabler of digital transformation. There has been fast progress on AI becoming more accessible and useful for everyone. But what does it mean for us working in the field of IoT? Today we will discuss what is the business potential of AI adoption in IoT applications, AI use cases in IoT, and how to think differently when designing your IoT solution in the era of AI. Okay, let's get started with the why. What is the business potential we see? How can we achieve concrete improvements with AI, and where? Anders, what are we doing with AI here at Telenor Connexion?
Pretty much, I would say. For instance, we are today collecting 400 billion real-time events every year. These events are describing more or less the request for our customers' things, or the SIM cards, as we are a telco operator, when they want to attach to a network and when they want to set up a data session. So these are control plane events. These we collect in real time. We feed this into 3,600 online AI models. And these are designed to detect anomalies in connectivity patterns, issues, and so on. And these anomalies are then fed into an application which our service operations center, the customer service, which monitors and do the surveillance of all our customers' connectivity and products and so on. They get these anomalies and diagnose that and so on. So if you ask about the value out of this, it's not just crunching a lot of data. It actually is that 99% of all the disturbances we communicate out to our customers originates from these AI models.
Well, it's not the AI models that cause the disturbance, right?
No, definitely. It's customers' device behavior and so on that might be problematic. And usually when they come into a context, they are not designed to optimized for. So, but what happens then? 99%. But the data here is extremely valuable for us in the way we use it, because if you compare this, if a competitor to us would have done similar sort of customer service level, the level we monitor and detect things. If we'd done that with humans, it would have required a team of 3,000 people constantly employed, to look at the data. So that's quite much, 3,000 people.
Yeah, Anders would not have gotten approval of that.
No. In us, it's not just a cost efficiency or something. It's likely it won't happen if you just use humans. Data and AI is actually opening up tremendous new, exciting new use cases that wasn't possible before. And we saved something around 21 million work hours for the past 4 years on just this solution if we use these estimates. So that is the power of AI, and we use it to deliver high quality customer service. And we are known for our world-class customer support, and these AI tooling and AI machinery we have is a key ingredient in that.
Sure.
Yeah.
So
that's impressive. And then for our customers, what can they expect to achieve?
If we're now going to like what customers, because we are delivering the connectivity. So when our customers, they have the devices that we help them connect. So what can they do with AI? Well, I want to like start like this, because if you look back or look at current IoT business, it's usually a device, and if you look at the end consumer, it's usually that you have a phone that speaks with the device through Wi-Fi or Bluetooth or something. And the device itself is quite dumb. It just reports data, more or less, up to the phone, where there is an app, or to the cloud, where you have like machine learning models and so on. And that's how a modern machine learning IoT use case looks like. But if you go even further back, the devices were really dumb. They just reported like measurements from sensors values, and you just collected. And then, I mean, if you go like 10, 15 years ago, IoT was a differentiating factor. If you connected your product, then you had the advantage of more insights, more data, more power over the competitors. But I would see now when AI comes into play is that this shift now is not going from if you're connected or not, is whether you are able to bring value out of the data that you collect or not. And that's where AI now sort of really shines through as something that really
a real differentiator.
address the business need. And
Yeah, I think it's fair to say that exactly what you explain here as well, Anders, that the amount of information that is being generated. I mean, I'm happy to just collect it on behalf of our customers or help our customers collect it somewhere. But if it's just collected, it's probably not going to bring that much value. You need to do something with the information. And I think that's where AI comes in, because just like our massive amount of events that happens on a yearly basis, I think that the similar situation occurs at our customers. And
so similarly,
we can't have 3,000 people sitting analyzing data, and I don't think that our customers can either. So to really unlock the full potential of IoT, I think AI has as a very natural role to play here, and that is exciting. I think it's the next level of IoT actually, which is also why we wrote the white paper in the first place, of course.
Yeah, this is an interesting parallel for. I mean, if you have a hierarchical organization with top management controlling and making all the decisions, it's known to be quite ineffective in the long run and so on. But while the distributed, empowered workforce, for instance, becomes more and more effective, they can take faster decisions and so on, and pivot easier and move ahead and be more agile. If you look at things that are connected, if you have all the intelligence centrally in your data center, in your cloud, is similar sort of. It will not. You have the latency of the data traveling forth and back from the device. The device reports what it's observed. Models in the cloud says what should be the best action to take, and send that instruction back. That is a latency. But also when you go into 5G and so on, I mean, the data volumes and the sensor values that will be collected will just increase. So at some point, I mean, will it be justified to send all that data through the connectivity that you have established, or should you maybe have the distributed intelligence pushed down to the edge, rather having this more agile, more self decision or localized decision to empower and make it more efficient. So that's I think I like that parallel to the organizational culture you can have in a company. So yeah.
Yeah. So if we move on to AI use cases, when we're speaking of improving the customer experience, do you have more concrete example on the use cases of AI? Are we going to see super smart homes, or are we then also going to see finally self-driving cars, which we've heard for so long about?
I think first of all, I'm humble about predicting which is going to be the killer use case for AI or IoT or anything for that sake. I think I often state that in occasions like this, that it's usually our customers that are the best ones identifying the best use cases for applying the technology. I mean, we can of course support and do whatever we need to do to make the IoT ecosystem work as it should. But when it comes to deployments, our customers are typically more innovative than us, and that's how it should be. But that said, I think we already now, and perhaps a little bit, beneath the surface, I think that a lot of us are exposed to AI in combination with IoT more often than we think of. It's there in different shapes and forms and so on. It could be a lawn mower that is automatically detecting the best pattern for cutting the grass, and that's probably some kind of AI embedded in that, together with the IoT service that we provide and help you remote control or tell instructions to the lawnmower or whatever it might be. So I think it is there already. That said, I also believe that we're just in the beginning of the journey of really taking advantage of AI in combination with IoT. So a lot of things will happen. I think looking at some of the more extreme use cases that I think we've been seeing today together with our customers, I take the car. Whether it's going to be fully autonomous or not, and in what shape, I don't think anybody knows. It's a lot of things related to that, not only technology, but it's also, of course, regulation and responsibility aspects. Like, I guess that you may be even more into than me, that come from the legal and regulatory perspective. But what we do know is that a car of today, a modern car, has so many sensors analyzing data all around it at all times. It's the radar sensing the distance to the car in front of you, detecting patterns that could be another car coming from the side or a bicycle or whatever. Yeah. And this needs to be processed. And once again, it can't be done by humans. I mean, yeah, it can be if you're a driver sitting there, sure. But the assistance that you get from these tools enhance the driver experience. So it's a sort of autonomy in a sense that it actually enhances the driver experience, and it can only be done using AI models that are, in this case, most likely embedded in the car, but assisted from the cloud in the sense that you can push out new information. I talked about this actually with a car OEM not too long ago, that, for instance, these Voi cars, not only Voi, of course, the kick bikes, the automatic kick bikes. I mean, that's another pattern that the car needs to learn to recognize. How can a car by itself, without assistance from someone centrally, understand that now this is a new potential risk factor that I need to adapt to? And so you need to have the combination of IT to be able to learn the models and so on, but at the same time, a lot of the computing needs to be done.
It's an interesting perspective. The car, the self-driving car, this intelligent car with all the safety systems. But the car in itself today it's very costly. I mean, the price point from an end consumer is very high, meaning that the cost of adding AI is not proportionally so big. It's, of course, a lot of R&D and so on behind it, but you can usually transfer the cost over to the end consumer, who benefits of the nice customer experience. But it's also interesting to see that, for instance, you mentioned smart home and so on, where the price tag of the products are usually lower. We're talking about 300 to maybe 2,000 euros. And then if you have a cost of an AI chip or machine learning or data and so on, if you have cost of that corresponds to like maybe 50% of the product cost, then it's very hard. So to make the product actually fly on the market.
Unless the AI actually adds the value that enhances the product value, which I believe we will see more of.
Exactly. But what I'm thinking here is that will actually change, because what I see in the market there is a few different trends going on out there, and one of them is, for instance, hardware, the chip hardware that compute. If you look at NVIDIA, Apple, Google, and AWS, they all build their own silicon, customized for their use case. And typically, all of this is sort of including AI in one way or the other, AI or data. So looking at the potential of the IoT market, which is, I've been told that there is expected to be like 40 billion devices by 2023, devices on the market. And if they are equipped with AI, I mean, who don't want to address that from a chip market perspective? So I think there will be new potential things coming out in the market dedicated for the IoT AI edge use case.
I think an important point to make here as well is that AI comes in very different shapes and forms and sizes. I think looking backwards, most of the AI was probably computed in a central cloud environment somewhere, like where you have supercomputers. But what's happening now in a rapid pace, I would say, is to reduce the amount of technology required to do AI. All the way into a very small and embedded chip that goes in a fairly cheap IoT device. And this, of course, opens up great possibilities, but you have a span there in between. And there's been a lot of talks the last couple of years about edge computing, which is an example of that, I think, because to some, edge computing is having availability of the server rack close to, for instance, a cell tower in a mobile network, so that data doesn't have necessarily to go all the way back to cloud to be computed, but it can be closer to the devices. And that's one way. But I think edge computing these days move all the way out into the embedded device itself. And here comes the entry of chipsets that are helping out in adding the compute power natively while still reducing both cost and power consumption, which is usually an important factor when it comes
especially when IoT.
So, I mean, this is all happening very rapidly now. And I think adding on top of that, the overall democratization of AI, I think in on a desktop it comes in the shape of ChatGPT, where you can talk to AI, and I think that's very illustrative or visual for many to understand. But we also see tools coming now that you don't necessarily have to be a PhD like Anders
exactly. I mean,
to do it, right? You can program.
I mean,
it.
what this generative AI have done is that we're not the first to say it, but it's sort of moved into the agenda of top management and boardrooms. I mean, they understand this now, and they see the potential. So now you can see it transparently going into the strategies. You see investments and so on. So there's a lot of things going on in this field. But I'm thinking, going back to what you said before, but what will the business value sort of be? It can be as simple as the customer's perceived expectations on products. Before you were fine with a lawn mower that you moved around yourself. Then you wanted robotic, and then you wanted connected. You push these boundaries of expectations. Now, when you see generative AI and ChatGPT-like application, you expect that you should be able to interact or help the machine to fix itself or something at home. You open up a new box, unbox something, and you talk or interact with the machine as if it was a human to make it configured for your home application and so on. I'm thinking that is sort of a mindset that will, I don't know if the vendors or the manufacturers will go first or the market sort of will start demand this. But I think that we will push these perceived expectations of what a product need to be in order to be relevant on the market. That's what I foresee.
Interesting. So it's really the combination also with AI and edge computing and all this
I mean,
that we see the development. And
I might be a geek in IoT and so on and connected things, but I have an EV at home and I'm trying to like optimize this charging schema and utilizing but what I actually really want is I want to be a really good citizen in the electrified society, and what I have as input parameters is, of course, for my end, the cost of the spot price of the power, but you also have the carbon footprint of the every hour produced electricity. I mean, that's coming from some source having different footprint. You want to lower that, and then you have the load in the power grid where you can be good in the sense that you don't overload it when it's very high load. But you can also now there are solutions where you can actually use the battery in the car as a load balancer. So you can offer charging when it's high load, or even giving output when there's a low demand or high demand, but not so high supply in your area of the grid and so on. So it's so what happens then is this is what I expect. I don't want to configure everything in an app saying I want this to be charged between these hours, looking at the spot price, the carbon footprint, and knowing somewhere about the load balance. I don't have that. I want this to be decided by the car. That should have all the information to decide how to optimally charge my car. So when I leave in the morning, because it's AI, it should be able to learn my driving patterns, that I'm driving to work somewhere between 7 and 9 every day. The car should be charged by then.
Prepare itself.
So that's, I'm thinking it's the customer expectations will shift with AI and the ChatGPT-like applications we see. That's what I foresee.
Basically what you're saying, comparing to IoT in general, that there was a time when, and you mentioned it, IoT, having IoT in the product was a differentiating thing.
Yeah.
In many verticals now we see that unless you have IoT in the product you sell, you're behind. And I think we're probably going to see a similar pattern here when it comes to AI. That if someone else is differentiating their experience towards the market by utilizing the power of AI, you probably need to do the same thing to keep up.
So that is really a good bridge over to designing IoT solutions in the era of AI. Like how do we, so now that you've walked us through the opportunities, how do we need to think differently when designing the solutions?
Should I start?
Yeah. Please
then
go
you
ahead.
can correct me.
Yeah.
No, I think, I mean, in general, it's hard to say that, this is exactly the blueprint you need to follow. I think that goes with most technology development, actually. But planning ahead of some sorts is probably a good idea, also when it comes to AI. Having an idea of what you want the experience to be, going back to that word. But and actually, I think that in general, when it comes to IoT, I love if IoT and embedded connectivity is put into all products, of course, but I love it even more if there's some kind of idea behind that, embedding the right type of processors and compute power, if it's going to be embedded AI, or you need to include the connectivity if you want to bring information back to the cloud and do AI there, things like that. But it's the end experience enhancement that should be in focus. But with that said, I think, and we can look at ourselves. I mean, we started off our AI journey some 8-9 years ago, I guess, in this company when we started to build our own cloud solution. But for sure, you didn't see all these 3,600 AI models envisioned at that point in time. I mean, we had an idea.
No, it was very simple statistics back then.
Yeah. But the fact that we started on that journey, collecting the data and preparing some processes and routines and data management platforms for it has allowed us to get where we are today. And I think that's probably something to consider also for our customers in a similar manner, that start exploring with one vision of a business problem or a product experience that you want to fulfill. But then luckily we have the ability today with IoT and other things to push out new routines and new software to the connected devices and update it, which is great, not only for a security perspective, that you can include new security mechanisms when that's needed, but also update the models and do new things.
Because that's an important point, because in the early days of IoT, when people connected things, they didn't think about life cycle management in that sense. So they shipped something and they couldn't update it afterwards. They didn't have the routines to remotely do firmware updates or application updates. And then gradually they learned and sort of built in this. So now you need to keep the operating system up to date and security patch and so on. But then you have your application on top of that, which you need to update and maintain, or lifecycle management. And you may add new features over time. But when it comes to AI in the edge now, you also need to think about the third aspect there, and that you need to lifecycle manage the models also. Because if you go back to the Voi versus the pedestrian case, it's a new thing that we don't want to make all the old cars early in the batches worth less. We want to have the the same value for the customer, regardless if you bought the product earlier or late in the release cycles. You want to update, and then you need to update the models also on board. So that's one aspect of the designing IoT solutions for AI.
And I don't think it has to be a car. I mean, car is a supercomputer on wheels. Someone said something.
No.
But I think you have, of course, other more maybe industrial applications that could be harder for a consumer to relate to. But take pumps. There are pumps everywhere in today's society, pumping water, wastewater, whatever it is. And I'm sure that you don't want these pumps to break down, right? And that's where IoT has started to come in play to gather data. But I think with the addition of AI, maybe the pump itself can detect that the combination of a RPM value and the temperature sensor, whatever it might be, sense that, hey, something seems to be a little bit shaky with it, with the pump. And the pump can itself then take action based on that.
Yes.
And I think that could be a data model. But if you have AI and the possibility to update it, you can use the information from not one pump, but from hundreds of thousands of deployed pumps out there and learn how to detect these problems and push out new information maybe to the pumps and making them even better and more robust and reliable, and thereby...
Actually, and you can probably prolong, from a sustainable perspective of producing a product and launching it on the market. With AI, you can actually optimize utilization of the device. It can learn or have a model that optimize so it prolongs the lifetime of the product. By using, if it's RPMs of a machine that spins or something, it can maybe modulate the RPMs exactly just so much that it needs, not going between 0 and max, which might be more not nice what to say, well, it will be more less wear and tear on the machine and so on. So that, and this is interesting because in IoT, when you connect the stuff, you can start to sell services instead of product, or do both. But and some of the customers, I mean, we've seen they're using service contracts like uptime. You can use this machine as long as you have a service contract. We monitor, make sure, but they can't really do anything with optimizing
usage.
how it's used. But with AI on board, you can start doing that, and then you can prolong the value of this machine much longer, and also decrease the failures and so on, because you use it in a more smoother and less aggressive way. And then it ties back to the business models that you can actually, it's probably much cheaper to put AI now to prolong the machine and then sell the service than actually just sell the product or a connected subscription.
But since you also asked what you should start to think about, I guess, in your journey, I'd like to make one point about competence and experience, which of course could be obtained by recruiting people. I think, first of all, it's not going to be, sorry, Anders, it's not going to be the data scientist that fulfills everything that is required. Unfortunately, that would be great. But I think
I start to realize that my glory days are past.
No, it's not. It's not. You're more needed than ever, I guess. Yeah. But I think and we can also once again look at ourselves. I think part of our success is that our organization has adopted a machine learning or data science mindset, right? And
that is important.
That took some time. I mean, in the beginning, I think it was you and a few other, believers that worked on this. But gradually, the value of the data and the AI has spread in our organization. And I guess today you have the opposite. So nowadays, people are approaching Anders.
Now the demand is much more than we ever could meet. Yes.
Yeah, but that's a good thing, because it means that we take advantage of the power of the data.
And we have the luxury now to pinpoint those use cases that are the biggest potential or the highest value.
Yeah, but my point here is that anyone starting off this journey now probably needs to have both, right? You need to first of all make your organization aware of the power, not necessarily to the extent that you need to understand exactly how everything works, but the power of it and what you can do with it, because that's where we create the business opportunities based on the technology. And then you probably need some competence and data scientists.
Yeah, but the degree of skills you need from data science and so on has decreased tremendously. I mean, there is so much more tooling around now. I mean, 5-10 years ago, you had to learn how to do hyperparameter tuning to train your model. You don't need to know that any longer. There are algorithms, there are services for this, and when it comes to AI in IoT, there is now quite established framework around small models that you can train your models, your AI models, on big data somewhere in the cloud or wherever you have your data. But then you can take that model that actually works and you can reduce the size of it so it's deployable on a smaller device. And you can do this without actually losing do this without losing a lot of accuracy. You can maintain it, most of it. The advantage is that the footprint, of course, when you deploy it, is smaller. I mean, just compare the ChatGPT, like the large language models, just to name it, it's super huge. But these frameworks where you can reduce a model and then deploy it, that is something we see now that will be actually an enabler for this AI in IoT. And one of these frameworks normally that people refer to is this TinyML, and that is an established framework. And I mean, if I would design a device today, I would make sure that I can fit one of these tiny models into that application or that hardware. That's what I would do as a first, and make sure that I can update something over time. Then I'm pretty sure that I will be able to succeed as long as I have the right business model and all that. But the technical limitations won't be there.
Tools where you maybe oversimplifying, but almost draw boxes of parameters that you want to make happening.
And the funny thing is, I mean, I've been on that side where I've been an expert and someone else using a drag and drop. But in fact, the tooling now are so good that tuning that last performance out of the models or the algorithm, whatever, it's not really worth all that extra work, that extra competence. It takes time. It's probably better just to take something that you can use to build something and deploy it to production, like actually get the scale out effects where you deploy it in mass. That's I think is a much better and more scalable approach to obtain business value.
But once again, you need to know what kind of business problem you want to solve.
But with that you know what problem you want to solve, there are like off the shelves also options now in the market. Is that
to some extent? I think there are, and I spoke with a company yesterday even that had some certain analytics like analyzing sound or something particular sound or I know these smart watches probably have embedded algorithms for detecting if you fall down and hurt yourself, something like that,
or heart rate
analytics for things like that. So yes, I think there are more common off-the-shelf type of analytics algorithms you can find, but I also think that in many cases you probably need to tune it at least for your specific application. But I think the advantage is that you might not require years of data to train the models any longer. That can be done quicker to get started, and then with over-the-air updates you can fine-tune your models once you get even more data to base it on. So I think that's the circle of AIoT life.
And I mean, if you just look at the AWS platform where you have the Greengrass as the IoT device platform as with the operating system, there you can deploy on local applications through their lambdas on the edge. But you can also take those machine learning models that you train in the cloud through the service, the machine learning service SageMaker. You can deploy those, package them, and load them back to the IoT device. So there are solutions in place that to solve all the technical and operational and deployment patterns for this.
Very good. So there are quite a few considerations from a regulatory perspective, and we have the new AI Act on EU level coming in, and there has been some concerns about that this would then overregulate the market and Europe would be left behind. What are your thoughts on this?
I've been thinking a lot about this, and I mean, you can have different attitudes to any regulations. Either it can be like something that blocks you, or it can be something that if you're good in how you treat it, you can actually come out very strong out on the other side. An interesting parallel, I would say, is the introduction of GDPR that we saw. Maybe it's 8, 9, 10 years ago, something like that.
2017.
It was a lot of work across the whole IT industry. There were so many systems, so many already in IT solutions in production that had to be modified, not to add any direct customer value, no feature, no new revenue streams. You just had to be compliant to the new regulations. In hindsight, we learned a lot. We made systems more safer. We get now it is new normal that we're having control, that we can decide our own as a end user if we want to share the data or not. And I'm thinking that the regulation of AI should now, like expecting it to go through the same sort of maturity. But the AI community needs to find this balance. I mean, we have always the sheer majority of AI enthusiasts want the AI to be ethical and sound and transparent. I mean, we don't want to do something bad with AI. And this gives us, for the first, that we have a regulation now suggested in place that will come into act eventually. That is just a win in itself, because now it's clear what is expected from us.
Yeah.
So that is super good.
So a clear framework.
So then we don't have the risk of building something, then need to start over, or it kills a use case. So now we know exactly what. So that is very good.
I think we need regulation for AI.
Yeah.
We have regulation for so many other things, and I consider AI being as an associate in an organization to some extent, and you don't hand out free access to employees either. So somehow we need to. Yeah. And it will help us, and it will probably in the end maybe even boost the adoption of it, because people has something to hold on to that, make you feel more
find
comfortable.
support in what you are able to achieve.
But I want to expand a little bit more, because when you look at AI in IoT, the regulations can actually be an enabler if you put in the right context, because moving data and moving insights and having someone using the data for training AI, that's sort of the questions that we try to regulate and make it transparent. But the AI in the device makes it possible now to not move the data. It can be like, I buy a product, I own it, I own the data on the device that it collects from the sensor values. I can block it from sharing it externally, but I still have it intelligent because it can operate, because I can get the models from externally, from the central cloud or whatever.
So you can keep your privacy and not share, but still have the advantages of the data collection.
So if you think about these regulations in the right way, it can be an enabler, or for things that wasn't possible before, if you had to send the data to the cloud, for instance. But
it's a very positive outlook.
Well, I think you need to we don't want unresponsible AI.
No,
that's for sure. So you need to think about, and as in any challenge, I mean, those that master this challenge the best, they will come out as winners in the end. So that's what we see for all these different transformations that happen. It's
a great summary.
Yeah, very good. Very good. Yes. So let's move on to the questions and see if there are any from our listeners. I will. So, do you have any recommendations for learning about AI? Books or podcasts or something you've found useful?
Oh, I've been living in this field for so long, so. I'm thinking just following up on, it depends on where your maturity is right now. I should just start looking at real use cases as they are told in newspapers, engineering magazines, social media link posts like Medium or whatever it is, where there's blog posts and so on. You can learn a lot from there. Are you planning to adopt it? Then you need to understand, am I going to be an engineer doing this, or am I going to be a business person adopting AI? That is completely different paths, I would say. But I would say that it will be more or less everyone expected. I mean, every people I meet, also those that haven't started in our company, they have started to investigate and learn about AI. They piloted it at home or tested it out. It's like bread and butter. So I'm just thinking this is like learning to read and write, something that is expected from everyone.
And
but no favorite podcasts or books?
No, the problem I would say from my side is that, it's actually a great benefit of having something that's called Telenor Academy, being part of Telenor Group, where we have a lot of resources available, but that probably doesn't help the average listener.
No, but I mean, the courses there are available. I mean, it's Coursera, it's, what do you call it, all this, Linda, So but there's a lot of them out there.
I think there are, and I think the key takeaway is that be curious and try to identify sources of information that suits yourself. And as Anders said, I think it's something that benefits most to just read up on.
And there is actually a podcast like this, or webinar, not a webinar, but it's a podcast series by Hyperwrite. It's called Data of AI. Let's say AI. After Work Data AI or something, I don't remember. It's Hyperwrite. Hyperwrite is an event coordinator that does amazing conferences on data and analytics and AI in the Nordics here, and also in Asia and Middle East and so on. But they're based in Stockholm. They host every single week. They invite an AI knowledgeable person, and they just sit and talk with that person for 2 hours. It's a lot of material. I think there are like 100 or 200 episodes now. I've been there and visiting. It was such a fantastic experience. Hyperwrite.
How do you spell that?
Hyperwrite. RIGHT.
Okay.
Data, after work data AI. I think that's
cool.
Something I don't remember the title.
I hope this was a suggestion that could be
that
explored.
Could be
Do you have a dream smart product enhanced by AI? What kind of connected product do you want to see in the future as a consumer?
As a consumer,
I would like a self-driving car.
I don't know if I want that. I like to drive myself, but it's probably great to have it. I mean, maybe a boring answer, but I believe and I want to see even more AI in healthcare. I think there's a lot to do there that can enhance the life of everyone around us, including myself maybe. But there, I think there's a great potential there.
Personally, if I look at my own need, I'm looking for an extremely smart heat pump. I have a smart one that claims both this and that, but a heat pump that learns my house's capability to buffer heat, uses the weather forecast, and like using the power grid, because it's a lot of energy that it consumes. And if it could be smarter in using all this, that's what I'm looking for. I hope to build that myself one day, but I need to open APIs for that.
And connectivity.
Yeah, I'm using the Wi-Fi though. So, but that's one idea. But it's a balance always. There are a lot of dream applications, but it's also comes with integrity. I don't want to tell my smart home that I'm home, lighting. I want it like know which rooms I'm going in and shut the lights off when I leave it and so on. That's the convenience I'm looking for.
That
requires
your needs.
It's like tracking me even inside my home and so on. And then that solution is really to be super secure if I'm going to treat that as my integrity and value that so much. So I would love to environment. That's what I'm thinking is making sustainable solutions. I think we can with technology solve address a lot of the challenge we have with this
the large
climate
challenge we have.
challenges and so on. That I hope we can do a lot.
Yeah.
Using much more efficient.
That's very optimistic outlook on the future, I think. Is there a topic that we have not been covered now that we would like to?
Yes.
Yes.
I have something that I forgot to mention before in there, but we talked about this AI in the edge and all that. But there is something around the connectivity patterns, and that is, it's not so much the AI in the model itself, it's actually the contextual data that you feed it with. And when we now go into AI in the thing, in the edge, what will be a distinguishing or a fantastic improvement is that we can feed it with contextual information. So, for instance, if we look at cars again, we can feed it with congestion or traffic congestions and so on, and weather conditions externally, meaning we can take smarter decisions on routing and so on. But the same goes for a lot of other applications. If we can feed it with surrounding information like I'm going to work, I'm going home from work and there's an event nearby. I don't want to be read up on all social media knowing that the Taylor Swift is in town, I want that experience. And you can feed that into the things, making them more intelligent. So you're like, the customer experience is always fantastic. That is the key. So the connectivity in the old IoT use cases where you submit a lot of data and maybe feed instructions back. But when you reverse that and take the decisions in the device, you now need to feed the contextual data back to the device rather than reporting a lot to the cloud. So that is something I wanted to point out as a paradigm shift in the design of the IoT solution.
So really considering that to have the real use and optimization, you need that. Thank you. Thank you for listening in today. I hope you've enjoyed our webinar. If you would like to continue this discussion with us, you can reach out through our website. Thank you and good afternoon.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.